Hey everybody, welcome back to the 168th episode of Taps and Patience. I'm AJ with Subtract Manufacturing and Audacity Micro, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. The music didn't play, Harrison.
I was noticing.
I don't even know how to do the intro without the music. Did I say all the words?
I think you said all the words.
It sounded weird in my head without the music.
It did in mine as well.
Well, and for the audience, Jacob's going to put the music in, so you guys will hear it, but we were weirded out.
Yeah, that was weird. But in my defense, it's your fault.
It is my fault. Well, I don't know. I swear I pressed the button. Now we can start the episode.
How we doing?
I am a little bit worn out from today, but otherwise doing all right.
Good deal.
I feel like I've had to move heavy things all day today. Even yesterday, the Tormach left. No, the Haas left. Tormach's still here.
You got rid of the Tormach too?
Nope, Haas gone. Tormach's still here. So that thing, while it went much better than the delivery of the Tormach with the liftgate, it was still very annoying because they brought a liftgate. That machine's lighter. That machine's only like 1,200 pounds. It wasn't sketchy on the liftgate. However, when we first brought it in, the ground must have been frozen or drier or something, because I remember having no issues moving that machine around on a pallet jack in our gravel driveway. It's a pretty hard packed gravel.
Yeah.
That was not the case this time. It was so difficult to get it up on the liftgate. Well, on the liftgate, there's a little bit of a ramp, and we pushed and pulled and yanked and did everything we could to get it on that liftgate for probably an hour on a pallet jack. And then eventually we were like, hold on, I have some pallet straps. Not pallet straps. What are those called? The things that go ratchet straps.
Ratchet straps.
Yeah, I had some ratchet straps, and we used those to kind of winch it up. Basically, as soon as we got it onto like the first wheel, as soon as it got onto there, it was fine. We were able to push it up. But oh man, did we try hard to get that thing from the shop door to the lift gate. I'm never ever moving a machine without a forklift again. So the buyer arranged this, and
Gotcha.
We were going through a machine dealer. The machine dealer and I had a little bit of I don't want to say a disagreement, but like when I was talking to them, I was very clear, you guys are going to arrange rigging of this thing. I will not do it. And like that was in all of our discussions from the first, the first discussion. And on the purchase order that the buyer sent to me, the dealer sent to me, it had some verbiage on there that it was like, includes loading onto buyer's truck or something like that. It was on the PO. And to me, that means, okay, yeah, the purchase order includes them loading it onto their truck. Well, the buyer was like, no, that includes you loading it onto our truck. And it was like, no, that was never the deal. And your wording is ambiguous. So you guys can deal with that, and it's not my problem. If you don't want to buy the machine, that's fine. But I'm not going to pay a rigger or rent a forklift to come out here.
Hit me with that wording one more time.
Includes loading onto, and it gave the company's name, but the buyer's truck. Includes loading onto truck.
That was in the purchasing terms?
It was in the notes section of the purchase order.
So typically with machine sales, I haven't done any yet, but just from the research I've done, typically the person who buys the machine is responsible for shipping from your location, but you're responsible for getting the machine out and onto the transportation.
That probably is normal, but I had told the sales guy from the beginning, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, which is understandable. If you clearly stated that. The only thing, did you point that out immediately, or did this only come up when they arrived?
So I had got a call from the trucking company, and the trucking, when I was talking to the trucking guy, he was like, yeah, I'll just have a flatbed and whatever, just stick it on there. And I went, nope, I can't do that. And then we talked to the sales guy. So it was before a truck showed up. And then they scrambled around for a couple days and they decided to just put it on a lift gate.
Okay.
Which again, this machine is, those office mills are only like 1,100 pounds or something, or 1,200 pounds. They're not a big machine. It's like moving a 1,100 MX.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, it was like the wording on the PO was ambiguous. And I was like, hey, you should have said seller responsible for loading onto our truck if that's what you meant. And if you're like, hey, if you want to walk away, that's fine. I'm not going to rent a forklift or hire riggers for you.
Yeah.
But like they already had a buyer lined up. Like it was going direct to the buyer. So I knew they would work something out. It was like, hey, this is the deal. You figure it out. And then I ended up spending 2 hours in the 95-degree plus super humidity, pushing and pulling it onto the pallet jack.
Yeah.
But hey, machine is gone. So, and I have a check. And that's what matters at the end of the day.
That is what matters at the end of the day. So.
And then I spent today kind of recovering from that, like in terms of rearranging the shop, because we just like pushed stuff out of the way to get the machine out. And so I had to push all the stuff back. And while I was doing that, I was like, well, this might as well be the time that I take all of my chips to the scrapyard. And I had like 1,500 pounds of chips. And I don't have a forklift or anything. So they're just in totes. So probably, I don't know, I had probably 10 or 15 totes. Yeah, I had at least 15 totes. So these totes were about 100 pounds each. And I'm throwing those around. Humidity is like 90% today and it's 95 degrees. And I just came in and I was dying.
Now, does your AC not keep up or?
No, the AC does great.
Okay.
But there's no AC in, when loading my truck or in the scrapyard or actually in my truck.
Oh, that's true. Oh, your truck doesn't have AC?
No. That thing's a beater.
Oh, okay.
That truck gets driven maybe 30 or 50 miles a month, if that. It gets used for runs to Alro and, maybe picking up boards or shelves from the hardware store. It gets used for dropping off chips.
Gotcha.
I probably drive that thing less than $2,000 miles a year.
I drive that thing less than $2,000 a year.
The truck is certainly worth less than $2,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's just a little runaround truck that's nice to have, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's solely for machine shop use and, maybe home property management. But we let people from church borrow it all the time. It probably gets used more by our church than it does by us.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's nice because like that thing's so beat up and like if they crash it, the insurance will probably be more than the truck's worth. So who cares? And if it gets scratched or dinged, like, nobody minds. Like, it's fine. Maybe don't break the windshield. That would be annoying because replacing the windshield would be as much as the truck's worth. But
yeah,
so it's handy to have a beat up truck around.
Yeah, it is. It is.
What have you been up to?
Just got back from vacation. So
where were you going this time?
Hawaii.
Man, you've been to Japan. You've been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
This must have been a family trip.
Yeah, this is a family trip. So
I'm guessing you didn't take the bus this time.
No.
Your big family bus.
Yeah. But no, it was a family trip, and otherwise I probably wouldn't have gone. Even though I really wanted to go to Hawaii, I think it's one of the few states I have left, so to get them all.
Nice.
I think it's my last state, but I did so much traveling as a kid that like I don't remember half the states I've been to. I just feel like I've been to all of the connected states on the mainland, including Alaska.
So you've been to Alaska yet?
I've been to Alaska twice.
Okay.
So, but I'd have to like go back through my childhood history and like map out all the different places I've been. But I'm pretty sure I've been to all the states. The only states I might not have been to is maybe, I think, North Dakota.
Like,
and North Dakota is like the one that stands out the most, as that I might not have been to, but I feel like I might have passed through it between states.
For a long time, I had been to more countries than I had states, because I, grew up in South Africa and Belgium, and it's just a lot easier to go to other countries from there, especially Belgium. But I don't know. Basically, going into adulthood and like traveling around with my wife, I think I've passed the number of countries with states now.
Yeah.
Not Alaska though, not Hawaii.
Yeah. We've only done like traveling abroad like that recently, and just because we don't have any kids yet.
Yeah, it's much easier then.
It's much easier. It's just me and my wife, we never did a honeymoon when we got married because it's the middle of COVID, and then so it was kind of the Japan thing was kind of a honeymoon that we never got.
Yeah.
So it's kind of delayed version of that. So, but it's been nice because I'm used to traveling in a massive group, and so just me and my wife going somewhere has been really nice.
I'm sure you were able to move a lot faster and kind of pivot easier.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than having a big group because I'm used to have a massive group everywhere I go. So having two people is a whole new experience.
I'm used to hauling around children at this point.
So, but speaking of trucks, I got a truck.
Ooh, now. What'd you get?
I got Weston's old truck.
What was that?
It was a 2015 F-150.
Okay.
So, and he got his grandfather's old truck, which is an F-250. So
nice.
he got a boat a year or two ago, and he could pull it with his F-150, but it really struggled. And he wanted to get a bigger truck, and he wanted me to get a truck. And we were looking at getting a truck through the Ford dealership, but it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
They're so expensive.
Yeah, they are. And so we lucked out in that his grandfather decided that he wanted to sell his truck, and it was a 2012, but it had like 60,000 miles.
Nice.
So I think we're going to end up with a really good deal on it. So he's happy, and then that gets me into a truck as well. So
have you seen the Slate truck?
I have. I've looked at some stuff on it. That looks pretty cool.
I think that's the only car I would consider buying new at this moment.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool, interesting vehicle.
Yeah. It's amazing how many options they have.
Yeah.
I bet it's a nightmare for their factory.
Well, I think they've made everything so modular that it might not be as big of a headache as like some of the other stuff.
I wonder how much of it is self-install.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that would be how you cut back on costs. Is like if you get a roof rack or something, they just throw it in the trunk and, say, good luck. It's $25,000 for a truck.
I think they tried to make everything to where you could self-upgrade it.
Yeah.
To where you could buy the base model and upgrade stuff over time. And so I'm pretty sure if you buy it from the factory, it'll come installed with all that options. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't.
I can.
and you might get a slight discount or over buying it from the factory instead of doing it later. But you can always do it later with that truck. So, and one of the interesting things, did you know that to save money that none of the trucks are painted? Or like they're all painted the same color?
I think I did know that. And then you can wrap them.
Yep, instead. Yeah. So instead of getting different paint jobs, you get different wrap jobs, which allow for a lot more options.
Do a subtract wrap. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So, which is pretty cool. So yeah, got the truck, and then the shop has just been humming along. So good. All the machines are running, and we're actually looking at selling a machine.
Which one? I know this one, but for the audience,
for the audience, the SVM is available. So, if we can get enough money for it, so I mean, we explain why I'm selling it, and if there's someone that's interested in it, they can reach out. So the reason we're getting rid of it has nothing to do with the machine and has everything to do with us needing more capacity. So right now that machine is basically a 3-axis only machine. It does have a 4th axis on it, but our workflow and processes, we've never utilized the 4th axis to the way we could. It's just we never developed a good workflow or had the right parts that we could use on it. If we really needed a 4th axis, we really needed a 5th axis, or it was a 3-axis only. Like there wasn't really a middle ground where it's like we can do a 4th axis part. We tried a couple times, but just nothing stuck. And so our plan right now is if we can get enough for it, where we can pay off the loan the rest of the way and get enough money to do a down payment on the next machine and basically just swap that machine out for something else, would be to swap it out to a VF4 with a TRT 210. And so we can more or less copy paste what we have with the VF3. And then we can share holders easier and have another 5-axis, because the UMC is basically running round the clock production work. And so the only job shop work we have available is the 1 5-axis, and we're getting more and more parts that need another 5-axis, and we don't have the space to add another machine, so we have to get rid of a machine to make it happen.
I think that's a lot of wisdom. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but why not get like 2 Speedios? Maybe like one of the U series and a S series.
Because we still need a large 3-axis table. So we still do larger parts for some of our customers. And because we were trying to decide between a VF3 and a VF4, like just duplicating what we already have completely, 100%, just get a VF3 SSYT and just get another one. And it doesn't make sense because we need extra X travel instead of extra Y travel. And so going with a VF4 would allow us to do that. And the space that we're trying to put it into, we couldn't fit 2 Speedios into. It's too tight. And so really, it's either one small machine or one large machine at that point. Put the largest machine we can fit and get the benefits of 5-axis plus the table. And the other reason is because I want to get spindle grippers on both on the VF3, and if we swap that machine out, a VF4. And I want to try to get both of those automated down the line. So,
have you ever considered a ring of Tormach 440s with a robot?
I have, and I've decided against it.
Hey, it's always an option, just saying.
So, I know we've had a lot of controversies on this podcast about our SVM, and I think it all boils down to that machine being sold to us as with the wrong capabilities. Like the machine itself is good and is highly capable, but it is not a heavy duty workhorse like we thought it was. And so we it's like someone was selling us a hammer and we thought it was a sledgehammer and it was more of a framing hammer.
Yeah. Or my favorite analogy is always like tractors versus race cars.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fast. It is really fast. It has 1 G of accelerations, and it is really accurate. It has been a very stable machine in terms of accuracy, but a heavy cutting machine, it is not. And it is not a torque monster at all. It has very low torque at the top end, and like I know people joke about Haas power, but compared to that machine compared to the VF doesn't have the same cojones. So it is a very capable machine in its field of expertise.
Yeah. Well, I hope that sells quickly and easily for you.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So anyways, we'll see what happens. If someone who's listening to the podcast wants to make an offer with us, we have some other stuff we can throw in to sweeten the deal. That
with a through bore,
Laying
with a through bore.
Laying with a through bore. We have a lot of tooling that these are stuff that if I sell it through other websites or things like those types of stuff don't really add very much to the value. So I would hang on to those and just try to resell them other ways. So
when you say tooling, do you mean holders or
holders?
Tool. Okay.
So
why not use those on the new Haas?
We probably will
Okay.
but like if someone wanted to come directly to us instead of going through a third party group, we have more things that we can do to try to sweeten the pot.
Yeah, fair.
So
Plus, cut out the middleman.
plus cut out the middleman. So, but we have a number, and if we don't get that number and we can't switch that machine out, it's no skin off our back. Which is the whole reason. Like we're putting feelers out. We're trying to see if there's any interest in the machine. And if everyone goes, no, we don't, we don't want that machine. It's like, okay, well, at least I tried as an alternative.
Yeah.
Like I don't, I, I I think it is a good machine, just misunderstood. It doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope I hope we can get another 5-axis machine in there. So, apart from that, we've had a lot of the annuals, which we're having an annual done on that machine. So if someone is interested in it, we're having the techs come through and go through the whole machine and give it a clean bill of health. They've already done that on the VF3, and they've done it on the UMC. And the UMC, and this is something I suspected whenever we installed the robot, we didn't have the time to get it properly done, was that the UMC was out of level. The VF3 was also out of level, but the UMC, it's a lot more of a process. And so we're going to have them schedule time to come out and re-level everything to try to get everything back in alignment. So, and that's like, we've never crashed that machine. We've never had any problems with it. That's just, if you remember when that machine was installed, they said that the casting was really messed up twist wise, and it took them a while to get everything leveled the first time. And now that it's just sat, I think
relaxed.
And I think it's out far enough that they need to fix it back up. Because when that machine was first installed, it was really, really accurate. And then I've just watched it over time just lose accuracy. And I've done stuff to try to mitigate it, to try to get it back, but I can only do so much software wise. At some point, you have to actually go back and physically make sure all the axes were where they need to be. So, but Philips, they've kind of been upping their game on like what they can do in house, and so part of the annual that they do, that they've only started doing within the last couple of years, is ball bar tests. And so they'll actually come in and run all the kinematics with the ball bar. And I don't think my understanding is they didn't do that before. They used to just like, check your basically visual inspection of everything and maybe run an indicator, make sure your table was still flat. They didn't do all the other checks. So,
yeah. Doing like all the ball bar checks is not something I have ever gotten deep into. Like, I know my machine has like a ball bar report and some like compensation data from the factory.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've definitely never ball barred a machine myself. Like, it's always, come from the factory with a report. And I think Dylan has talked about like doing it himself and being able to compensate, for any skew or whatever else might show up in that test.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd be interested in hearing more about.
Yeah, I would be interested in hearing more about it. It was cool to like see the results and kind of watch them do it all. It's something that like, as we continue down the road, I could see us getting our own kit and doing that more frequently down the road. But thankfully, the VF3 was really stable and precise. Like it passed with flying colors. The machine had settled a little bit, but it was a very minor tweak, and they were able to get it re-leveled. And that machine's a lot easier to re-level than the UMC. So they just did that. The other one, because it takes like a half a day, they have to schedule a second time to come back and do it. But so we did that. Oh, one thing I got to mention, because it's happening right now, and I'll send you the link, is that when we went to Hawaii, there was one thing that I wanted to do that didn't end up happening until just now. And that was they've been having one of their volcanoes erupt.
Oh,
And it was supposed to erupt on Saturday or Sunday while we were there. And it basically lost pressure and didn't erupt.
it
And
fizzled.
and so what I just sent you a link to the YouTube channel. This is a live feed from the volcano right now. And
Oh, that's cool.
it's erupting right now. So
It's a spewing.
yeah. We could have been there.
How
If
close would they let you get?
so where the camera's at, it's a little bit zoomed in, but that's basically the viewpoint we went to. Almost the exact view of that camera.
That's cool.
And so it's not far from the walkway that we would have been able to go down. And so basically the distance to that camera is basically where we could have stood and watched it from.
Nice.
So, which is pretty cool.
There's a book called Outland, which is by the same guy who wrote the Bobiverse books. And no spoilers, but a lot of that book has to do with a volcano. So, and I was just reading that. We went down to Tennessee on the 4th of July with my family for a minor family reunion. And we listened to that book on the way down with my kids. And so volcanoes, they're in my mind right now.
Yeah. So we went there, but unfortunately it was not erupting when we went. So, but it is now, a couple days later. Missed it by that much. So, other than that, we've been shipping out a ton of parts. So,
Good.
while I was gone on vacation, basically the shop was running every single machine except for the ST15 was running production work. And so when I got back from vacation and looked at our outbound shipping, we had like 10 boxes. And so our outbound shipping was like piled up super high, and then it had started up on the floor collecting boxes because our little rack that we have for outbound filled up completely.
Nice. That's always a good problem to have.
Yeah, so it was how many parts would I don't know how many parts it would be for exact because I didn't look, but I can tell you that it was just guessing based off how many boxes I saw, probably close to 40,000 parts.
Nice.
Or not 40,000 parts. Would it have been? No.
40,000 parts is a lot of parts.
No, I'm thinking of something else. 4,000 parts. Sorry, 4,000 parts. Not 4,000 parts. I'm adding a zero somewhere.
That's when you get that Swiss in. Then you'll be shipping 40,000 out at a time.
No, I was just talking to one of my customers about quoting 46,000 parts. And
that's a lot of parts.
It's a lot of parts. That's where my 40 got mixed in. No, it was probably close to 4,000 parts total there.
Nice.
So,
I shipped like 125-ish parts so far this week.
Nice.
Those were those nozzles where all I had to do was load them into a fixture and then make the hole in them slightly bigger.
Was that the ones that the adding them in and out ended up taking longer than you thought?
I don't want to say it took longer than I thought. I would say machining them was faster than I thought.
Okay.
So I could not keep up with the machine. I made a pallet that had roughly 100-ish threaded holes on there where I could thread in the little nozzles.
Mm-hmm.
And I had two pallets so I could swap between them. And I put the first one in and hit go and started loading the second one. I realized that, just because my fingers are large, I packed the holes too close. And so I started just screwing them into every other hole. And I made a little, basically just a tube that goes on the end of my drill. It was 3D printed out of TPU, so it was the right size to fit around these nozzles to act as kind of a driver to tighten them in. So, using my fingers, going every other hole, I got about halfway down the pallet when the first cycle finished. And I was running, and I switched back and forth and kept doing this, and I could consistently get about half the pallet loaded. But I was still running the full program as if it was drilling out every single hole, and I was loading a quarter of them in that time. So I was 4 times slower than the machine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not the worst problem to have. Oh no, my pallet was too dense. Like, whatever.
Not too dense, but well, the only thing that matters in that respect is how you quote your handling time.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I was making hundreds of dollars an hour on these things.
yeah, so you were fine, but if you go too cheap and you're doing something like that, like you can drastically misunderstand on parts that run that fast and that easy. It's real easy to get your time skewed.
And I was afraid I underquoted these, but because they were so much faster than I was afraid they would be, it was fine.
Yeah.
I have
We
two
have
fixtures now. I'm waiting on another shipment of the nozzle blanks, another 400 of those, and this should be something like 500 pieces a month ongoing. So I have two fixtures. I can just sit there for a couple hours and swap them out as they go. Or if Mongo gets up and running, load them up at full density and run them overnight.
how is Mongo?
So Mongo is doing fantastic. He is getting so close to like actually being able to load pallets. I did a ton of work on his software. His hardware is pretty much ready to go, but I did a ton of work on his software, and like my pallet scheduling application thing is getting really good.
Mm-hmm.
It now talks to both Mongo and the Tormach, so that has been solved. It is able to schedule jobs and like in a queue. Excuse the sniffles into the microphone. It's able to schedule jobs in a queue, and it keeps track of like which program goes with which pallet and what fixture is on that pallet. And it knows which tools are used in a given program. And there's an auto schedule button where you just tell it which pallets you want to run. You hit auto schedule, and it will order those pallets to reduce the number of tools that need to go into or out of the ATC.
Okay.
And eventually, I'm hoping to be able to pallet swap in new tools as well.
So how are you controlling which program runs? Like, are you just calling up a program number with the robot, or are you actually loading the files over?
There is a file assigned to the pallet, and the machine will know which pallet is loaded and which program to run.
But is the program preloaded on your controller, or like
as it is set up right now? Yes, the programs are being directly posted to the controller. It could also be a server or a shared drive somewhere else if I wanted to, but right now, yes, the files are going directly to the machine controller.
Okay, and then the way your pallet is linking them is with a program number, or is it actually looking at the program as well?
The actual program is assigned to the pallet. So like the robot knows not only the name of the program, but also the contents. So it can do things like pull the tool list from it.
That's what I was trying to figure out is how are you accessing that file? Are you posting it to two locations, or is it reading that information off the controller?
It is reading that information off of the controller at the moment.
Okay.
It could be any shared drive. It's just using the Tormach shared drive at this point.
Can it read the program if it's running?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it can. And I don't know. So far, at least all the software stuff seems to be going pretty well. The mill communications I just got working like yesterday, and I haven't had the machine sitting idle while playing with this. So I have not yet like had the computer run a program, for example. And that's kind of what I'll need to do. I think all of my foundation work is there. I think I basically just need to put in the loading and unloading logic. I think that's the only thing left. Like there has to be some communication between the machine and the robot, and then both of those and the controller. And there's got to be, a bunch of safety checks and like, hey, did this part, finish with errors or without errors? Is there a pallet loaded? Is there a pallet not loaded? Was the pallet misloaded? Is the door closed? Am I safe to run? There's just a bunch of that stuff. So
fair enough.
I need to like sit down with a flow chart and go through it like in pretty, like a lot of detail of, what signals need to exist, what confirmations need to exist, what safety checks need to exist. Like, does the robot need a running signal from the machine? Maybe. Would a finished signal be better than a running signal? Does it need an alarm signal? Does it have to go directly from the robot to the mill, or can it go through the main controller? Like, I have 4 wires in each direction from the machine to the robot. So 4 inputs and 4 outputs on each. And I'll use those for some safety critical things. But I haven't decided which yet. Right now, they're just unassigned.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. I'm making progress. I started making pallets today. When I made the fixture pallets for those nozzles. And so it's like, I have all the codes, I have the materials on hand. So I might as well start cranking out more Aroa pallets that I can use with Mongo once he's up and running. So I cut, I think, 11 pallets today, relatively small ones. 3 or 4 of those are going to become super glue pallets. And then the other ones, I may try to do some sort of kind of like a vice substitute for some standard sizes, like a Mighty Bite and a, just a serrated wall or something that I can use for like 1-inch material. And I don't know, just something that's cheaper than buying a vice.
Yeah.
Or I can just leave them blank. And if I need a custom fixture, I'll make a custom fixture. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'll have the blanks I can do whatever I want with.
Fair enough.
So other than that, like we're kind of starting my last big stretch of teaching. I think I taught 3 classes last week, 2 of which were manual turning, and then another one was the first day in what's going to be actually a fairly in-depth class, the most in-depth class that I've taught. It's like 35 Fridays in a row or something like that for this company. And it's everything from like, this is a mill all the way up through 5-axis programming. So it's more in depth than I've gotten to do before. This is the first time that I've been teaching Fusion through the school, which will be nice. Hopefully tomorrow they'll have the laptops ready for me with Fusion installed and licenses and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this class. This is going to be a fun class. I like the group of students so far. This is the first group of students I've had that have like asked to stay around later so they could like hang out with each other.
Yeah.
All the other groups of students were just kind of like acquaintances. Like, this group is obviously a good group of friends that has been through this apprentice program for a while together. And they're just, I don't know, they're a lot more fun than some of my other classes that are full of, old curmudgeons or whatever. Or people that are just there for the paycheck. Like this, they all care. They're engaged. I'm looking forward to that class. That will be my last class. So it runs, like I said, forever. It's like 30-something Fridays. So it runs well into next year. But basically, I have a couple classes around, like up until kind of the holidays start.
Mm-hmm.
I stop basically around Thanksgiving, and then I'm done teaching except for this one Friday class that'll hang on until like July of next year. Then I get to actually focus on my own businesses for once. Subtract, we're onboarding 2 new vendors today. They've done their paperwork. They just need to do their onboarding call. We have been slowly but steadily getting busier. Did I talk about looking at our numbers through the 3-month rolling average versus the not? So, okay. The Subtract numbers are very lumpy month per month. We'll have some good months and some slow months.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always just looked at them on a month-to-month basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't really tell much from them. It was like, well, we're profitable. We're making money. But it didn't seem like we were growing very much.
Mm-hmm.
But I plotted them out by our 3-month rolling average, and it's like straight line growth. So the lumps were definitely hiding stuff. And like we would have, 1 month where we were, at like $10,000 in revenue for that month, and it'd, be sad and feel bad. And then we would have a month where we would do like $60,000 or more. And, that would feel really busy. And then we would have a slow month. But if you plot it all out, it's basic with the 3-month rolling average, basically, linear, straight growth. And I don't know, that was like it was very reassuring to me. Like I was kind of wondering about Subtract. Like, is this ever going to take off? Like, I feel like it should be doing better by now. And the school had made an offer for me to go full time with them. I was like, well, I like teaching. It pays pretty well. It's going great. And like I had kind of some of those doubts. Like my wife and I were looking at moving to Lebanon to be closer to the school, so I wouldn't have to spend an hour driving it both ways every time. But like seeing those numbers and seeing the growth, seeing where it'll be at by like the end of the year if this keeps up, like kind of all of those doubts instantly went away.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad, or I'm very happy with where that's going. I never actually checked it against our projections. That's something I should have done. Those would be in sheets. Where are we at to our projections? We are behind our projections, but our projections might have been overly optimistic. So
with all of our stuff that we're shipping out, I think we're going to start catching up to our projections for this year. We're still running behind what we were hoping to be at, but I think we're going to have a good push in the right direction now that stuff is starting to happen in the right order.
It sounds like you're starting to get moving. You're getting profits on those things that you were just basically sunk costs forever.
Yeah. So it's stuff starting to move again in the right direction. And so now it's just getting everything going in production mode simultaneously. So, which will be nice.
Yeah. For Subtract, like my initial projections were based off of so little data that they were just not useful. Plus, we were counting on having a little bit more active sales that would be pushing things further. Our sales have so far been relatively passive. And it turns out when you don't sell stuff as hard, you don't get people buying as much.
Yep.
But July is already looking really good. If we kept up the same pace for July, I think it would be around our best month ever. And our best month ever was largely driven by like one really, really big order. And we haven't had one really, really big order this month. Like it's been a bunch of pretty good orders, like fine orders.
Fair enough.
And we probably still have like 50K in outstanding quotes right now. So
nice.
I don't know. Audacity is going to be basically dead for the rest of the year because what time I have left after teaching, I'll be working on Subtract. Quoting 2.0 is so close to being a reality. I basically figured out my block, and it was keeping me from making progress on quoting 2.0, which is just I was trying to do it in too big of chunks, and my chunks were interrelated. And by doing smaller and smaller chunks and making sure there was no like cross tying of them, I've been able to just kind of slowly hammer them out.
Nice.
So the last two things I have left is calculating complexity, or a variable we're calling complexity. We have risk and we have complexity. And I've already done risk. And so now I just need to figure out, the math on what I'm calling complexity. Risk is like the way we are separating those is risk relates to loss of materials.
Okay.
So like if there's a bunch of setups on the part, that actually adds both risk and complexity. But the risk score will be a multiplier on the material and tooling costs of the job. Mm-hmm. And the complexity is going to be a multiplier on the time costs of the job. So if it's complex, like there's again a lot of setups or the programming's difficult, then you will get the then we will increase the budget for like programming time and just running them time and stuff like that. If it's something that's risky, let's say it's got like a really long, ratio hole, right? You got this like 40 times diameter hole or something stupid like that. That would go into the risk factor, and it would increase your material and tooling budget, basically. So that's how we're separating those out. And some of that is based on like some of the risk and complexity. Like there's some factors that affect them both. Like the number of tool changes in a part, that gives you both risk and complexity. Because every time you set a tool, there is a chance that you screw something up. Mm-hmm. So if it takes 35 tools, there's a lot bigger chance that you misset one of them. Or, the wear diameter or the wear offset on one of them is a little bit wrong or whatever. So you get risk and complexity for that. But I don't know. There's a couple things like that. Anyway, risk and complexity. That's what I'm working on. I need to do a quoting video at some point here because I have, I think, gotten a pretty good grasp on machine shop quoting lately as I've gotten really deep into it. So another issue that we were having is we weren't always getting good numbers out of Toolpath because sometimes it would ignore certain features, particularly if it had if you had a pocket with sharp internal corners. The way we had Toolpath configured, it would just ignore that whole pocket. So sometimes, depending on how the model was modeled, Toolpath would ignore just huge portions of the model, which would make our Toolpath estimate basically useless. And then AJ was going in and eyeballing it, which generally worked well, but sometimes didn't work well. I, as a side quest, worked on a project that Jacob banned me from working on because it was a waste of time, which was a automatic or like a parametric palette with instant quoting, like Xometry style quoting, where you upload your model and it gives you a price. My theory was if you limited the designs to just coming from your parametric palette that you already designed and let people modify that and then upload it, the Toolpath pricing would be a lot more reliable because you had more control of the geometry. So I took Jamie's anchor point palette design, made it parametric, and then threw together a quick little like proof of concept website where you could download the Fusion file, make your changes to it, add your own pockets, and then put it back up on the website, and it would give you an instant price. And you could hit buy, and it would email Jamie the palette files, the CAD files, and the price. And then he could just like invoice the person and ship it to him. And in the process of doing that and playing around with stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing, I figured out how that there was just a setting I had wrong in Toolpath. And basically by tweaking that one setting, it fixed all of our Toolpath, like refusing to get into pockets mode. So sometimes ADHD is a benefit.
That was not one of them.
What was not one of them?
That one was not a. If you spend all your time on something that was pointless, that could be solved with just a setting.
No. I went down a learning. It was an expedition of learning. I went spelunking through knowledge, and in that knowledge, I found the answer to my problem. Because I found a setting in Toolpath I didn't even know existed.
At any point in this conversation, did you reach out to Toolpath with this problem?
No, because I thought it was the limitation of their tool. I thought it was just a problem with Toolpath that they would eventually fix in an update, hopefully. But it was a setting that honestly was poorly named, I think was more the problem. I couldn't even tell you what the setting was called now. But basically, it's like the amount of acceptable material you're allowed to leave on. Like they called it something. It wasn't deviation. But it was basically, it sounded like it was the fusion, like tolerance term. Mm-hmm. But that's not what it meant. So by fixing that, everything works now. And our Toolpath estimates are way better.
Gotcha.
We still don't have lathe solved, but mill is working really well right now.
Gotcha. Well, if you're good, I'm ready to move on to Patreons.
I can sniffle my way through Patreons. We have Patreons. Our Patreons help keep the lights on here. They get us to IMTS. They pay for hotel rooms and flights. And we very much love our Patreons. All of our Patreons get access to our Discord, where you can come hang out with a super awesome community. It really is like the best machining hangout place on the internet, because you had to pay to be there, and so there's no like trolls or dumb people. Like it's great community. Everybody's committed. They do hangouts in there every Friday as well, and all Patreons also get access to our weekly Q&A, which we will do later. We have 2 new Patreons this month, Blackwell Engineering and Tyler W. Thank you, both of you. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Our top Patreon is at the sponsorship tier, is G28 Machining. They are a precision job shop focused on solving tough problems. They do reverse engineering, repair work, production overflow. They've got 3-axis, 5-axis, live tooled lathes, all the stuff you want. And they are an FFL. So if you need those kind of parts, check out G28 Machining. Our Patreons include, but are not limited to, CJ at CS Machine and Fabrication, Mike at G28 Machining, Brian at Headco, Matt at Modern Fuel, Russell M, Joseph E, Brian B, Jacob S, Chris at CDS Plastics, John S, Alex H, Avery M, Chris B at Putty Creek Precision, Josh at Layton Machining, Millen Y, Devin C, Christian O, Stephen M, Daniel R, James at Moultrie-Man, Ryan at Stratum Manufacturing, Kyle at Kursk Machine, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, Greg at Frogtown Manufacturing, James N, Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zona Precision, Jason at JLS Machine, Joshua H, Christian C, Leland B, Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z, 2Z Systems, Trey V, Alexander B, Scott Design the Everything, Jamie at Nocturnal. No. I was trying to be really careful in saying it right, but I still said it wrong. Jamie at Nautical Work Holding, EJ at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at Zyke Precision, Chris at Thought Bomb Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson. And if you would like to join the Patreon, you can go to nauticalworkholding.com. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you really should, you can go to nauticalworkholding.com. If you would like a really cool little vice, a little dovetail vice, which I have 5 on the way, you can go to tapsandpatience.com. I died laughing in the podcast that those two do when he mentioned that. What is that podcast called? The Load Machinists.
Load Machinists.
I died when I was listening to the Load Machinists and they bought Taps and Patience.
They
thought I still owned it, but apparently I let that domain lapse.
Really?
Yep, because now Jamie owns it. Unless he spelled it wrong or I spelled it wrong, both of which are a distinct possibility. For those of you that don't know, I am really, 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 really bad at spelling. And we had the title of our podcast spelled wrong for like a year.
Oh, my goodness.
And patience is one of those words that I just cannot spell to save my life. And I have to Google it every single time. Or ask ChatGPT if I used it right. The other word I can't spell is business.
Oh, my goodness.
Every single time I misspell it, and I have to Google it. And that is the word I had misspelled in our title for like a year.
Is it bad now that it's easier to find Jamie's website with Taps and Patience than Nautical Work Holding?
No, that's pretty normal.
Like, I can find his website easier now.
I have sabotaged myself because I used to be able to just type in Nautical Work Holding to like the URL bar and it would do a Google search for Nautical Work Holding. And if you spelled it right, or if you're Jamie wrong, it would still find his website. But now that I've typed in Nautical Work Holding spelled correctly into my search bar so many times, it autofills and then it brings us to our own Patreon. So now I have a really hard time because I don't know how he misspelled Nautical Work Holding. And yeah, I'm going to have to clear out my browser history to get rid of all of the other nauticals in there so that I can actually find his website when I need it.
That is hilarious.
Anyway, from Jason S. For the next episode, for both, what is one tool or piece of equipment that you regret buying?
What is one tool or piece of equipment you regret buying?
I I feel like we've been asked this before, and I've probably had better answers in the past than I do now.
I can't think of any major purchases. It'd be something smaller. I feel like most of the time we wait till we have a need and then we buy. And all the other stuff that we have not had a need and bought was strategic, and the need came shortly after.
I spent too much money on I bought too big of a laser when I bought a laser. I could have gotten a much smaller one, and it would be both taking up less space in my shop now, and could have saved me, I don't know, $2,000-3,000 or something.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to buy a laser? I have one that's too big for me, and it needs to go.
I don't know. I don't really have anything that stands out as like majorly wrong or like, would do differently. The only thing that could potentially fall into that camp would be the ST15, because it has not pulled its weight compared to all the other machines. But I think it was a really good stepping stone that helped us learn. It was kind of like the Tormach in that, like, it's not the best machine for today, but it was the right machine at the right time. So that'd be my closest thing. Argument could be made for the Grizzly saw that we have, just because it's a junker, but there again, it was the right machine at the right price at the right time. We just haven't had a chance to upgrade it yet.
I can't believe you're still using that thing.
Yeah, that thing is the Tormach of saws, in the sense that we have abused and used the crap out of that thing, and it's still running.
Yeah.
Like we ran that 1100 back in the day pretty hard. So, and we do the same with our saw, with our Grizzly saw. So, we have plans to upgrade it in the near-ish future.
Nice.
So, did you have anything that you regret buying?
I'm just like staring out into my shop. There was that Shoreline Chucker. Do you remember the Shoreline Chucker?
That was before my time, but I
bet I had it when we were podcasting, but it never once made a part. I don't know if it ever ran at all.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you still had it, because whenever we started this podcast, I think you were getting rid of your 1100, and you were getting the 1100 MX.
I think I sold that Chucker before I moved up here. And so I bet I did. I bet I had it at the beginning of the podcast. It was surely just sitting in the corner building up dust, because it needed the full retrofit, basically. Like, it was just the machine. It had no motors or anything on it. And the Shoreline Chuckers are really cool machines. They're small, they're tiny, but they are pretty cool little machines. And I thought I was going to make pens on that. And then I never ran it once. So I bought it and then I sold it. And I don't know. I don't think I lost a ton of money on it, but I'm pretty sure I lost at least some. And that was a cool machine that did nothing ever. So I still have the piece of granite that I had it bolted to at one point. And that piece of granite's just been kicking around my shop for, gosh, has it been 5 years now? Or 4 years? I should probably get rid of that piece of granite too. Oh, I bought a cheap height gauge. I think it was like a Schar's height gauge or something.
Ooh.
And it is terrible. It is awful. I've never used it once on a part.
Okay, I have much better regrets now that you mentioned that.
Okay.
So when that CNC shop closed down and we bought a bunch of used equipment, one of the things that we bought was a grinder. And
surface grinder or
a surface grinder?
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was a tool room surface, or a tooling surface grinder.
Oh.
So it was a very long, skinny travel.
Interesting.
And so we got it wired up and we got it running, but we never once ran it on a part.
Yeah.
We didn't have a mag base for it, and otherwise we might have used it. But even if we didn't have a mag base for it, most of the stuff we do is aluminum and stainless. And so we got it all working good, and then we ended up ripping it out, and that's where the dual spindle Y-axis lathe sits now. So we bought that, and we bought a what are they called? You have one. In fact, you made a metal
Oh, the optical comparator.
optical comparator. Yeah, you made a metal tray for it that was
Yeah, the Gridfinity
yeah, the metal
fixturing.
grid fit.
I
Yeah,
still use that to this day.
so but we never used our optical comparator. The light on it was horrible and it was very dim, and so we ended up selling the optical comparator and the grinder, and we never used either of them. So those were both a waste of money. Although I think we actually made money on both of those because of how cheap we
Nice.
got them. So like it was a waste of our time and money, but we didn't lose money on the actual items because I think we resold them for more than we bought them for.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm actually going to need to buy a grinder at some point. It's very kind of adjacent to a lot of the work I do. And there's a lot of parts where, like, you want that extra flatness, and sure, you
mhm.
can fight to get it on the mill using super glue and tape, but it'd be a lot easier just to leave it a little extra material and then hit it with a grinder. I've been playing with them more and more at school. I made a little fixture for grinding, specifically high speed steel chamfer tools for the lathe.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I had a lot of fun grinding out that fixture. I started on the Bridgeport and then brought it over to the grinder, like I was straight out of the 1950s or something. But I had a lot of fun with that, and I want one now. And I would actually use it on parts.
Mhm.
And we need it for subtract every now and then.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to grind parts for subtract. Patrick B. Also, for both, what's something you feel like you can't live without besides the 0 point system or not a fifth axis? He knows me.
So I mean, for me, it would be an actual 5 axis. But if you want to go for like not CNC equipment, like just general shop stuff, one thing that I could not live without now that I have it is a pressure washer.
Oh, interesting.
So whenever I'm clean, and a pressure washer specifically with one of those rotating heads,
Uh huh.
I forget what they call them,
The spinning
tur-
nozzle.
turbo heads, I think,
Sure.
or something.
Spinning nozzle.
They for cleaning out uh stuff in the shop, especially filters and whatnot, like whenever we do our normal maintenance, it takes what is like a long, strenuous job and makes it like a 5 minute just spray it off and you're done. Like it cleans so fast. It's awesome. Between that and the Freddy, like both of those are really nice to have. That would be really hard to live without.
My semi-serious answer for this one that I've given many times on this podcast is my water cooler. It's got a nice filter in there, and then it like actively refrigerates the water. It uses just tap water and then filters it. It does not have like the big water cooler tanks. And I found a little control on that to adjust the temperature, and I crank that thing as cold as it can be. And it just gives me delicious, really cold, like nice tasting water. And I know it's dumb, but it's such a big quality of life thing for me in the shop. And I drink so much more water because of it.
Oh, the other thing I would say is our rotary screw compressors.
Oh, yeah. I don't have one of those, but I can see that.
So though, like we got a second one as a backup, and having two of them and alternating is just I have never had to worry about air, and I've never run out, and it's been incredible. So, in fact, one time we found out that a valve got stuck open and it was bleeding air, and it was in a location that we just couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
And so, but ironically, uh, someone like a passerby happened to hear it going in and out of the shop, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys have like an air leak over here?" And we came in, we looked, and it had been leaking like all day because like a valve got stuck open, and nothing aired out. No machine, like we had zero problems anywhere else, and it's just like blasting air out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's cool. So I was like, the compressor was running a lot more than it normally does, but I mean, it didn't cause any problems. And like the air quality has been really good.
That's good.
Like I've got it all set up now where the tank is constantly draining out the liquid in it, and so we never have to worry about water in the lines anywhere. So
On a more serious than my water cooler, even though I do really do love that water cooler, insulating the shop really well. Like at one point, we insulated the attic, and now the shop holds its temperature so well. It maintains a pretty stable whatever you set the mini split at. And the mini split should be undersized for this building, but it has no problem even when it gets wildly hot and humid outside. As long as you're not opening the garage door like I was when I was loading those chips today, it really does a great job keeping up. The walls were already pretty well insulated, and when they came and when I had someone do the attic, they were like, "How much do you want to put in?" And it was like, "Well, how much could you put in?" And let's do that. And we did that, and it was like double what it would normally be for this style of building. And man, that's been great. It also cut down on noise a lot too. So 100% would do that again. And then we put in a bunch of lighting, a bunch of nice LED lighting, and there are actually still a few random dark spots because we were a little bit limited by where the old fixtures were without wanting to wire in new wires. But just having a super well lit, like very bright shop is really nice, especially for filming. The dark spots are a lot more obvious when I'm filming in them, but like when I'm doing those YouTube videos, it's just very nice to be in a well lit shop. And I would do that 100 times over. The one thing I do wish I had done before moving in was the floors. I wish I had done an epoxy coat or something that's better than what I have now. I mean, they're fine. They're concrete floors. Like, they're not the end of the world. They're just ugly. I want them to be not ugly. Also, my walls could probably be mudded and painted because they're also ugly. Because they're just like raw drywall from the last guy. But Josh Elaine Machine, as a shop that's considering getting ITAR certified, or is ITAR certified, what is the easiest software to transition into from Fusion? Cost is a factor, but ease of transition into creating toolpaths is more important. Well, if you want easy, it's HSM Works.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great long-term solution, but it's the easy one.
I don't have a good solution because that's still a problem that I'm trying to tackle because we haven't done anything with that yet.
Yeah, so. I've done no work to getting Audacity ITARs. Subtract will get there at some point, but Subtract does not need CAD or CAM. So
we're technically ITAR certified, but I don't have any ITAR software, and I haven't accepted any ITAR jobs, and we've been so busy with the stuff we have going on that's not ITAR related that like
you should probably not be paying for that.
What?
It's the ITAR certification.
It's not that expensive.
I thought it was a couple $1,000 a year.
No, I think it was like $150.
I could be wrong.
So I don't remember it being that expensive. AS 9100 is, but not ITAR. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't. I have done very little. I think I've taken one ITAR job, maybe two, and that was back before we realized that Fusion was not a good fit for that. So don't have a good answer for that, unfortunately.
Fingers crossed the Fusion fixes that before I get there.
Yeah, I've heard it from some reliable sources that it's a work in progress, but
it's been a work in progress for a long time.
Exactly.
From James N. Where would you tell someone to start with AI in general and then working it into the shop?
In general, I'd just start asking it questions. Just start using it like Google.
Yeah. Go to chatgpt.com and start asking it things. One of my biggest use cases for it is like, here's an email that I've written, check it for spelling and grammar mistakes. I do that one a lot. Or anytime that I have just kind of word vomit that I need to turn into good thoughts. For example, with my notes for teaching, I had, 2 years worth of these note documents that were like stuff I was doing in classes. They were all very garbled. They were, not consistent in formatting. They were great for me. Like they were stuff that I could look at and go through. But like as I'm, trying to pass on this teaching role to somebody else, I threw those in ChatGPT. I gave it a format and was like, turn these into real notes. And it just nailed it. So if you ever have tasks like that, it's really good at it. I like on the palette fixture that I just did for the little nozzles, I took a screenshot of that and copy pasted the screenshot into ChatGPT and went, how many holes do I have? And it counted them for me, which I just assume is right. I guess I never checked it, but stuff like that, it's really good for. And then coding, it makes coding so easy. You have to install it on your computer. Don't try to do the coding in the cloud, but install either like Claude Code or ChatGPT Codex. And like basically then it's just knowing what you want. You don't need to know the technical details. Just know what you want the software to do. So if you want an ERP, figure out what you want an ERP to do and then tell Codex, and then Codex will do it for you. It's much easier than you would think. There's a lot of, kind of the old guard that's like, oh, you got to, make sure this is all programmed perfectly or you'll run into issues. And they're probably right if you're trying to sell something or you're doing something that's going on the internet or, it's mission critical. But if you're just making like like I have that Kanban generator that I use, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to follow good coding practices. Codex will do it fine. Harrison is typing. So I think software is the killer application for a machine shop, being able to make a custom ERP or whatever. Otherwise, for just your day-to-day life, it's basically just either processing large amounts of data or like changing format or like helping you with spelling and grammar. Another thing is I'll do a ChatGPT is if I get like a purchase order that has, terms on the bottom or whatever, I'll copy paste those terms into ChatGPT and be like, is there anything I need to worry about here? And it's good for that too.
Yeah, we've used that for my wife too. Like whenever like she was doing like her master's or she's doing her master's and she'd have some homework prompts that were really complicated and like we couldn't make heads or tails of. And then like we'd give that prompt to ChatGPT and be like, tell it to me like I'm 5 and like summarize it. And like it would like go through and be like, okay, this is what you need to understand from this. And I've done that with other things and other websites. And it does a really good job of taking like large volumes of data and like distilling it down to the key points. So
Tabletop Machine Shop. YouTube is a ton of work. Have you cracked the code to YouTube just being an effortless byproduct of your business? Or is it something you still have to slog through in addition to other stuff you're doing? No, I have not cracked the code, but no, it's also not so much of a slog. It's not a slog because I don't care about it that much. It's like this cool thing that I do on the side. It's not the driving force to my business. It's basically a hobby. 2, I have editors that are now editing the videos for me, and that makes it a lot easier. 3, I got really good at recording things to make the editing burden easier for even when I do record things. My videos are generally fairly efficient where like if the video is an hour long, I recorded like an hour and 20 minutes worth of stuff. Whereas if you're not disciplined in that, you can easily have like 5 or 10 hours of footage that you have to collapse into that same hour video. And that makes editing take a lot longer. I do really, 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 really miss my DJI Osmo, just the gimbal cam with the wireless mic that was like integrated into that. I will probably buy another one at some point. I like my camera I have now because I can zoom in farther, but nothing beat that in terms of easiness.
And I have nothing because I don't really do YouTube because I don't have time.
You do YouTube. You just let everyone do it for you.
I guess that's true.
You have hundreds and hundreds of hours of YouTube content, sir.
That okay, that's fair. But if I didn't have if I wasn't the co-host and I was responsible for doing all this, there's no way it'd get done.
Yeah. I mean, you're following AJ's business model, which is come up with it. this is my business model and currently all of my businesses. AJ comes up with ideas and therefore problems, and then a gentleman named Jacob takes care of them. That's true for Audacity with Tall Jacob and Subtract with Subtract Jacob. Except they both work for Subtract now, technically.
Yep.
So, yeah, just find yourself a gentleman named Jacob, and then Jacob will solve it.
Fair enough.
From Rune, do you feel like you have more freedom or less since owning your own business? We'll start with that one. There's a couple sub questions here.
Yes.
Yes. Correct answer. More freedom, also more responsibilities.
Yeah. Well, what was it? I hated working a 40-hour job for someone else, so I became a business owner, and now I work 130 hours for myself.
Yeah, for less money.
For less money.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I don't know. Like I like being able to just kind of like go exercise in the middle of the day, or like go hang out with my kids, or sometimes I'll sleep in. When I'm like fully in self-employed mode and not teaching at all, I don't set alarms to wake up on. Like I go to bed when I'm tired. I wake up when I wake up, and it is what it is. And granted, I'm probably working a lot more than 8 hours in that day, but I don't know. Like I have lazy mornings where I can take my time and drink my coffee. Like I love that. But also sometimes you don't get time for that because you're slammed with work, and you do need to be waking up at 4 a.m. And, there's... Yeah, the answer is yes. What's one high moment from ownership and one low from business ownership?
Yeah, one high is like just looking at what we've built. I mean, every once in a while, I'll walk into the shop and just look at the equipment I have and the parts we're doing. And there's just a reward of looking around at what you've built and having a sense of pride in what you've been able to accomplish. And knowing that there's not anyone that can really come and take that away from you. And like, I don't know, it's a type of freedom that is hard to quantify unless you've done it. So,
high moment for me is it kind of goes back to some of the people that I'm working with. Like the other day, we had our first Subtract stand-up meeting where both Jacobs were present. So it was Jacob and Jacob. And like, I don't know, I had a lot of fun in that meeting. I think I was trying to build a pallet for the Haas so the Haas could leave, which, by the way, failed miserably. And I ended up just wrapping the machine in like the saran wrap stuff and sending it off that way. Anyway, but like, I don't know. We were hanging out. I like both those people. They seemed to get along pretty well. And like stuff was just kind of getting done. Like I'm very happy with that team that Subtract has right now. And like seeing that growth, seeing stuff kind of go beyond me was very cool. One of my favorite stories is that one time, this is unrelated. Other really high moment. This was one of my best moments in machining. I had a job come in for a repeat part. It was a single op super glue. I super glued the part down and let it cure. And then I put it in the machine. I hit go. I went and I took a nap, and I woke up to a finished part that I then packed and shipped. It was like, I don't know. I liked that. It was like all of my systems were just in place and working, and, right part, right time, right systems, easiest money I ever made. And that kind of gave me the itch to get Mongo working even more.
Yeah.
More sleeping while parts are being made.
Good deal.
I know Harrison's in a hurry here. Low point. For me, that was still definitely that big production job I did that like I way underquoted, and it went on for like forever and a half. That was by far my lowest moment as a machine shop and entrepreneur, and maybe as a person, where I was like spending days at a time where I think I had like a 30 or 40 minute cycle time for 4 parts, something like that. And I would hit go and then come sleep on the couch that's on the other side of this computer for half an hour. And then I had an alarm on my phone, and I would get up and I would go load the parts again. And then I would go back to sleep for half an hour. And I did that for like 3 days. That really, really sucked. Especially because I was making like minimum wage at best on that job. So yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, we had a lot of jobs or a lot of things that have like been low points. But probably the biggest one that stands out as like something that like was like a really personal low for me was whenever I crashed the probe into the 5-axis trunnion. Like
I remember that. We had a great thumbnail for that.
That was devastating. It traumatized me in a lot of ways. And like I still have PTSD from some of that, from stuff like that. But like if you haven't crashed a machine and you're like, I don't know if it's like a rite of passage or what it is, but like it's pretty bad. So, but that's probably my biggest low.
Rune wraps up by saying purple is a flavor, which I don't remember if that's a reference to the podcast, but I agree. Purple is a flavor.
Yep. So, that's about all I got.
I pressed it worked this time.
It worked this time. We got it. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us this week's podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. Subscribe to our YouTube channel that I have nothing to do with.
Please subscribe so we can start monetizing it.
Yeah. I have no work in other than recording the episodes. The best way to do YouTube.
Yeah. Make someone else do it.
Make someone else do it. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
One of a kind.